Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about two recent court summons, actually three recent court summons complaints that were dismissed by the plaintiff. I'm going to tell you what was, how we did the response to help those clients. They're all different, so that's why I want to just, when we start getting them in, I'm just going to start making some videos to kind of talk about what we had did. So if you're in that situation where you're being sued by a third-party debt collector or even the original creditor, there's certain things that you could do to get them to dismiss it. Like you always have a chance if you know what to look for in the summons, and just know your rights and what you can and cannot do. Before I get started, I want to just talk about it, and I'll go through this as I roll through my video here. I wasn't gonna mention this part, but I want to mention it because I think that it's important, and I usually don't like to kind of stack too much stuff on top of you when I'm doing my videos, because I want you to stay focused on what the subject is. But I just want to tell you that your credit is very important. I'm my own testimony on credit. I've seen what other people have been able to do when they got their credit repaired. Like, credit is like the foundation. If you could just imagine you're building a house, and if the foundation is not right, everything will crumble. Even if you build up high, you think you got things going. If the credit is not solid, it's going to end up crumbling at some point. And I'm always trying to think of ways that I can kind of waking people up to the importance of credit. And this is something that I said to my business clients, because I have a whole nother company where I consult with business owners with marketing their business, with and getting them out of trouble with their credit, so they won't end up losing their business. And this is something that I've said to them, and I want to say it to you, because this is something that has happened to me, so I know it's true, and I know how it feels, and I try to get them to relate their credit this way. Imagine you go to work every day. You work hard. You get paid either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly if you're on a salary. Imagine if you could duplicate yourself, that you could actually duplicate yourself, so you're sitting doing what you want to do. You sitting doing what you want to do, but you can duplicate yourself to do work for you, and you would still get paid the same amount of money, or maybe even more. Now, I don't want you to look at it as a business opportunity. What I want you to focus on is, how would you feel if you were able to duplicate yourself? And this isn't talking about cloning and all that stuff, where you're able to duplicate yourself, and that self was able to earn the same amount of money that you're making now, or even more. So that's what having good credit is. A lot of people don't really understand it that way, and I'll admit I didn't even really understand it that way, because when I first got out of debt in 1999, I was a full-blown Dave Ramsey type follower, and I was like, hey, don't just pay cash, do all of that type of stuff. And I must say that Dave Ramsey is right, and he's wrong. He's right that you don't need to get into debt and be stupid with your money, and you need to save and do that stuff. But where he's wrong is that where high credit scores, like you can see with mine right here, having good credit, having a high credit score will put you into a situation where your life will just be totally transformed. I'm talking about where your life, you will have things open up to you, doors open up to you that you would have never thought would be available to you. Let me get to the screen here where I want to show you the recent ones. Um, so to kind of sum it up with this part here, so I can kind of get you focused in on what I'm saying with this. Oh, you know what? I could just do this here. There we go. There we go, right there. Okay, well, that was cancellation there. Okay, so what I've been able to do with my having excellent credit is utilizing my credit has been like duplicating me for my businesses. I have 4 different companies, and my wife and I, we were having this conversation. We were driving to the mall or something, and I said, if you look at it, with our credit, with the way that we utilize our credit, aren't we actually just making money every month off of the credit that we utilize every month? And she thought about it for a second, and she was like, I never thought about it that way. I was like, because she runs our retail business, and I was like, how much did you make, did that business make this month? And she told me the amount, and then I said, well, how much did you have to pay for the credit that we extended for that company this month? Because we always pay off our credit every month. And she was like, well, we paid this amount. And I was like, well, if you think about it, aren't we making money from utilizing the credit that we get extended every month on that business? She was like, I never thought about it that way. And I talked to my business clients about credit that way, because a lot of them, number one thing that they run into trouble with is that they don't have enough money to keep marketing their business. Like, they're just barely making it with some of them. And then when I look at the ones that are just like flourishing, they got multiple locations. Like, one of my clients has 64 locations, cell phone provider. And the way that they utilize credit, number one, from the vendor, from the cell phone providers, from the cell phone equipment providers, from even all the way up to how they even put their locations together. And I was like, man, this is the type of stuff that a lot of people need to learn and understand, because it is all based, like, when I look at it, like, you uncover everything, and you just look at it from how did they build that, and it was based off of the owner's credit. Owner's credits started first, built the business credit, built the companies. And even if the owner does not utilize as much as their, full blown out business credit, even utilizing their own personal credit to make money. And that's what gets back to what I was saying. If you could duplicate yourself and you were able to earn the same amount of money that you're making now, would that be of value to you? Of course it would be, but it all starts with your credit. So if you're ever interested in learning about that type of stuff, just go over to my other channel, Making Money with Stephen A. Williams. Again, you'll see my face there. I'm not going to talk about too much of that here. I wanted to talk about some recent wins, and well, this was one we haven't got the image on her yet, but this was one with a debt cancellation, $6,327.86, and another one, $1,697.67. American Express, 1099 cancellation of debt, back and forth submission of documents, got that job done. Not to say that it'll happen in every situation, but it can happen. Now, let's talk about the recent court cases that were victories. We got the first one here. I want to get me a open spot. Get me an open spot here, because I'm going to need to kind of go over this here. Let's get, come on. Let's get an open spot here. Oh, here we go. Oh, man. There we go. We got that on there. Okay, so this victory here. So let's look at the total number. That was how much the lawsuit was. Now, I mean, I'm not. If you were in front of an attorney, let's just say that you were in front of an attorney, you were being sued, and this was a let's see. I'm not sure. This could have been a repossession. This debt collector usually buys repos, and they buy big time personal loans. They don't do anything that's cheap. No lower cost collections. They do all higher ones. So now, if you were to go to an attorney, what do you think would be the first thing that they would ask you to start looking at if you were facing this? After they asked you, they would probably ask you, hey, is this debt yours? You know, they're going to ask you the regular things. Was it ID theft? Where you know, did somebody get your information and utilize it? And then they're going to, when you say no to that, then the next thing they're going to say is, okay, well, why didn't you pay it? What happened? Did you have a financial situation? And we all know where the whole story is going when they start asking those questions, is that they're going to start talking about you filing bankruptcy, because they're going to be like, you know, what are you going to do? How are you going to fight the plaintiff when we have a contract with them? You know, you show them your paperwork from the court summons. They got a contract. They got last two statements. Let's just write it down. This is what the plaintiff. So they're gonna have the summons. They're gonna have the contract from the original creditor. They're gonna have some statements. They're gonna have the usually they're gonna have the purchase docs, which is the chain of custody. Chain of custody, they got to show how they ended up getting the debt. They're gonna, you know, this is the basics right here. This here is good enough to win in court for them. They do this all the time. They have major victories by just providing that information. So now so you're looking at this paperwork, your attorney's looking at this paperwork, and they're saying, okay, we got a summons, they did that properly. They got a contract that, you know, showing that you signed it. They got the statement showing that you made payments. I mean, you know, so this account must be yours, because why would you make any payments to them? And then they got some purchase docs showing that they purchased the debt. So they are legally, they own this debt. So now where are you at in this situation? You're sitting down with your attorney. Where are you at in this situation? How are you going to overcome this here $26,422.54? Most of the time it's going to be where they just try to point you to bankruptcy, and then they're going to try to determine which one you're going to qualify for, either Chapter 7 with the means test, or they're going to have to put you into a Chapter 13, which will get you into a Chapter 7 for most people eventually, because if you can't make those payments and you're making payments to the trustee, how do you think that you're going to be able to, you know, sustain yourself? So what you should do, and this, I'm not giving you legal advice, so let me first put that out there. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not giving you legal advice, but what I'm going to tell you is how you can have victory right there, which is what we have right here, victory for clients. So the first thing that you need to start challenging, and this is what makes the difference. Like, there's certain things that you can say that won't matter. There's certain laws that you can state that won't matter, and then there are certain things that you can state that will matter. And what I mean by that is, look at what they're providing and see how you can reverse it against them. That is like the best way to win something. Is like, okay, you take information from an individual and you start breaking down their own information, not bringing so much other information into the conversation, because that's going to get everybody all twisted up. That's going to make, where it gets confusing. It's going to be like, you got to bring more, more details about that. You got to produce all these different documents. No, how about this? Let's just look at what you presented to the court, and let's walk step by step to see if the way that you presented it and the information that you presented it is complete enough to allow the court to give you a judgment and for you to be able to come after me for the money. So and the thing about it, it's different for every situation. It's different for every situation. So with this one here, just so you know too, so let me do the spoiler alert again. This is a victory. I'm pretty sure a lot of you that are watching my video have this information right in front of you, and you're wondering, do I even have a chance? And I'm telling you right now, this was a victory. This is the amount. And don't think that just because a debt collector buys debt for pennies on the dollar, which they don't buy this one for pennies on the dollar, they buy these for a lot more, that they're just going to give up because they want to give up. No, they want to make money on every account that they purchase. So on this one here, it's very important to read what they have, and this is what we did on this one here. The first thing, which is something that I always do, and you have to write this a certain way, but I'm just going to give you like briefly the way that we do it, is that for every debt collector, you want to get something that shows that they have a right to even have your private information. Like, show me a document that allows you to be able to view my private information, my private data, from the original creditor over to you. Show me, you don't say it with the terms and service and all of that stuff. That's where they're going to probably try to hide all of that information, that if your account goes bad, we could sell it to somebody else. But the problem is, even if they did have it in terms of service, they do not turn that stuff over to debt collectors. They will not. Only terms of service that they're going to give is the one that's in the contract. But for shifting over your private information, they're not going to give that to them, because number one, if you were to really read and see what they're doing with our private information, you'd be like, they're selling it and doing all this stuff to people that they could be breaking the rules, breaking the law. They're just not going to turn that over to a third-party debt collector and say, okay, here was the terms of service and the privacy policy, which allows us to do this to our own clients. They don't want to get that out there. So you want to challenge, you want them to provide, give me information showing that you have a right to to have my private information. And then on this one here, with this specific one, which is always different, is that we noticed that the proof of service was not provided, and in certain states it's not as important as it is in other states. For this particular state, they did not provide the proof of service, and in this state, you must get someone to sign the prove that it was serviced. In my state, they could just leave it at the door. They could show that they attempted proof of service, but some states don't allow it to be that way. Another thing is that they did not provide the opportunity to dispute the debt, which is the dunning letter, the 30-day letter. They did not provide that with this information here. Now, this is one that is not, shown here that you're asking them to produce. But this is something that what you're asking them to produce is something that they're supposed to be producing in the normal flow of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So You won't get yourself in trouble. You won't have to worry about, hey, you got to prove this and that and this court case and that court case. No, this is in the normal process of debt collection, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. This is something that they must do. And in the normal process of suing someone, this is something that they have to do. So these are things that the court will just say, this is just normal procedure. Why didn't you follow those procedures? Another one on this one that we specifically found on here is that the plaintiff did not show the sale document. Now, I know I put it right here, but for some reason with this specific case, they did not show the sale document from how it was transferred to them, assigned, none of that stuff. They did not provide that. So we wanted them to provide that sale document. A lot of times, well, they're going to always have a sale document, but let me tell you what they don't want you to see with the sale document is that it doesn't have your name on there. It doesn't have the complete account number. And then another thing, it has the full amount of the debt. Like it'll say, we bought $10 million worth of debt. Obviously, this is not $10 million worth of debt. And if they redact it, it's not going to look right to the court because you have a right to see all of the redacted material so you can make a determination on if this information really pertains to you, 100% of it. The next thing is we got, with this specific lender, we wanted to see if they filed a 1099-C. Like we had just saw with that American Express card, that individual did not know that they had filed a 1099-C. And we always tell our clients, when we do this back and forth, you may just out of the blue receive the 1099-C documents. So you want to make sure that the original creditor did not file a 1099-C, and also if it has went through several hands. With some of these lending club type organizations, I saw in their court summons that they would have multiple. Like one time, we had like about 9 pages of lenders that were listed in the court summons. They were not all plaintiffs, but what they did is they had signed over their rights to the top company in the lending club, to the lending club itself, and in lending club, power of attorney their sale over to the debt collection company. Now, this is what I think is wrong with that, is that how do you know if you got all of these pages full of people, not people, but companies' trust that are involved in the lending of these loans? How do we know that not one or two or any of them filed a 1099-C? So you would want to get that record, get them on record stating no one has filed a 1099-C with the IRS, because that would make that debt canceled, and the IRS is going to be coming after you as additional income, which you can get that waived. So that's why it's very important to ask for that information. The next thing, which was like the top thing on this one here, which when we prepared this one, we found something that would wipe this whole debt out, but to cover all of our bases, we made sure that we wanted to make sure that everything was covered. So every answer that you just saw was covered in this one, but there was one, when we did the research, and we knew this from the beginning, there was one that just stood out huge, and it was the statute of limitations on that debt, on this debt here, had ran out. This debt collector was attempting to collect a debt, take someone to court over a debt that was past the legal statute of limitations to collect. Now, the judge did not say anything about it being past statute of limitations. The court clerk, no one said that this debt was past legal statute of limitation. As a matter of fact, this debt collector is in violation for attempting to collect a debt that is past the legal statute of limitations to collect. They're not even supposed to do any type of legal action, but they get away with it because people don't know their rights. Now, another thing is that even if your debt is past the legal statute of limitations, you are still required to submit a response to the court. You cannot just say, well, I'm going to disregard you. I'm going to send it to the to the debt collector because it's past the legal statute of limitations. If you do that, you're disregarding an order from the court to respond. So that's why regardless, even if it's past legal statute of limitation, you communicate that in your response to the court. The court will have that stamped and submit that response to the plaintiff attorney, and then the plaintiff attorney would be the one who would dismiss it. That's just the normal order of business on the way that you got to do it. So now let's talk about the second one here. Let's talk about the second one. This one here, young lady, let's see, here we go. Whoa, you know what? Oh yeah, okay. Okay, and these were different collectors. Okay, so in this one here, we had the privacy. Again, we always start off with privacy. And then the next one, contract with the plaintiff. And I apologize on the another thing that we do put on all of them is that we do request a contract with the plaintiff, and this is where they try to put that with this here, the contract. They try to, insinuate the purchasing of the portfolio is the contract. So we want to get the contract and we want to get the privacy, how they're allowed to view your private information. And let's see what else we had in this one. This was a very short one. Portfolio. This one here, so you may be saying, well, why wasn't it in the other one that we had? When they do provide the entire portfolio affidavits, which you'll see in some of the responses, then the way that you would attack that is you would have them, number one, show your complete name and account number on that affidavit, but then also have them you would state that that the original creditor did not guarantee that there were no errors in the portfolio, which is something that they're not going to do because they know that once they sell that document, that anything could happen. And if you read that affidavit from the sale of the debt, the original creditor to the debt collector, you will notice that it has a line in there saying that the debt collector assumes all responsibilities for all errors and, for inaccuracies, all of that type of stuff, that the debt collector assumes that. Some of the time they don't use that terminology, but that's basically what they're saying is that once we sell it to you, if there's any issues, you deal with it. You can't come back to us. And another issue, obviously, is that they don't even have your name and your complete account number, which is you have a right to get that information. And then on this one here, we had the 1099-C, requested 1099-C from the original creditor to make sure that the debt was not discharged. Just right there, those 4 things beat this debt collector. Those 4 things. This was a Capital One card. This one here was so this one was a Capital One card, and this one here was a web bank loan. The other one for the 26 was a web bank loan. So basically what you do is you need to look at the information that they provide over to you, and then you need to make a determination on how you're going to make your response. Now, one of the things that I hear a lot, and I understand because, we're not like in courtrooms, and you're not in courtrooms, and so you can have these types of questions, is that they'll say, well, why don't I just deal with the debt collector and forget the court? If you do that, you're going to have two people against you, or you're going to have a court system against you, and you're going to have the plaintiff attorney against you, or the plaintiff against you. Because when they file those documents with the court is like saying, I want you to respond to what we just got filed with us. So it's like if you don't respond to them, it's like you're disregarding the court. And we all know how it could be, where the court will be like, hey, we're the legal authority in the cities and states, and if we ask you to do something, you got to do it. You got to respond. You can't just disregard it. So if you have debt collectors that are suing you, you have to respond to that court summons. Review it. If you need help, contact us. We'll review it, tell you your options. If you want to learn how to do this yourself, there's a link below here. The court summons response link. I have a do-it-yourself side, or you can have us take a look at the documents and potentially help you with it. But it's worth it, because just think about it. $3,000, $26,000. That's, if a person's not making a lot of money, that would take a long time to recover. It would take a long time to recover if you're not making a lot of money. That's why we do it. That's flat out. We do it to help people, and it does help people. All right, I'm going to end the video here. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video of what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit portion scores, go to the website your3scores.com. And as a matter of fact, even if you don't become our client, I want you to grab those 3 credit reports and those 3 scores, and have all the information on there, not just like what you see with the free score type places. If you have debt collectors coming after you early in the game, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations, cease and desist, collection activities letter, and debt validation letter. Utilize them. The instructions are on there on which one you need to use pertaining to your situation. I do ask for a donation on there, but it will save you time, money, and frustration. As a matter of fact, with the one that was $26,000, if he would have just known about the statute of limitations, it would have stopped that process just with one of the letters that I give you. So thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.